everybody, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be playing some Age of Conflicts. They changed it for the 4th anniversary, which is crazy because I've had this game for almost 3 years now. Most of its development, I've had this game, and I've loved to see it grow. Way better than it used to be. Without further ado, let's just jump straight in. But here, we are actually going to be not pressing create scenario, but randomized world. And we're going to put the number of nations all the way up to the max, the number of empty cities to the max. Now what this is going to do is going to create random nations all across the globe in random spots. And we're just going to see who can win. And yeah, look at this. So we've already spawned in, and look, there's a ton up here in Russia. So Russia's very populated. But then Europe has nothing. Africa up here by Egypt is pretty empty. America is very full. South America's full. Australia's not too full, but look at this. Now we're going to speed it up. 2 times speed already. And yeah, look at this. So these guys up here got really small. And yeah, these guys have their own names. A lot of them are just in random languages, so it's not all English. Which I believe there's a setting to change that. But you know, I don't have it enabled. And yeah, they all have random flags too. And just looking at statistics here, we have Sofia here in South Africa. That is the largest right now. Well, it's actually just Foxhold up here was actually just taken over. Yeah, they're still taking land up here. Yeah, there's still land to be taken. Hawaii's still there. We have Millbury over here in 3rd. Looks like Sofia is actually going up to 2nd. They're getting really close to Foxhold. They took them over, and yeah, look at this. We already have 190 nations. This is going to be very exciting. I've wanted to do one of these for a long time. But let's go ahead and look at the smallest. The smallest nation up here, Odinor land. 17 pixels, and it's just a black with a gray flag for black outline. And then we have a lot of other nations. We're going to go up to the top again real quick, because Sofia is in number 1 still. Foxhold is still number 2, and Redwick Pool, just Redwick Pool is in number 3. But a lot of these nations have their capitals real close to another, like that one. These guys have no problem with that, but Foxhold does have that problem. And yeah, just look at this already. It's already getting really big. And I think really cool just to look around at the map and see this. But as we see here, a lot of fights are happening up here in the north. And it looks like we have a Russia emerging. We have our other Russia. We have Western Europe. And we have Carthage down here. We have Tunisia, Libya, Italy, Turkey. I want to see if there's any nations that look like the real parts of their nation. Any nations that's really close to their nation. This is the closest we probably will ever see to a real nation right there. The Philippines, which are pretty close. We might see we have a New Zealand. We might see an Australia emerge. Redwick Pool's in 3rd. Thornhurstport is in 4th. Crownway is in 5th. So yeah, these two actually border each other. And Redwick Pool's right up here. They all meet up at 1 actually. These are like top 5 power. Crownway. Pavlio, Millbury. Still a lot of smaller nations. The smallest nation we have is still Odinor. Yeah, it looks like over here Pavlio is taking over a lot of land. They are becoming very big. Yeah, they are in number 1 now. Actually, they took over the spot from Sofia. Let's see. Not too much else is happening here. And if you want to see some more scenarios like this, I have more on the channel. But I'm also wanting to do a video where I create my own map and I do random nations like this as well, which I think would be very cool. But next time I think we do this, I think we do only English names, so I can read it like this. I can't pronounce that, so if they win, then it's just, it looks like Odinor is off the map. Wait, no. Odinor the pink one. They actually grew. The smallest is now Uno Castle in Norway. Followed by, and then another Russian state. But yeah, everywhere is starting to become a lot bigger, and we see that it ramps up on the list a lot. Foxhold is still the biggest now, with Sofia, actually just taking over number 1. But we do see that Redwick Pool is at number 3. They're all very close in power. Sofia, though, is taking the lead here. They're trying to conquer all of South Africa, and they actually just took most of that state here, and the state up here. They reach all the way over to the Atlantic on that side. And these borders don't look that bad. These actually, besides for these guys. If you ignore these guys, then it's pretty good. But yeah, I think this is very cool. I love this mode, so I might play this more often. But Sofia is still in 1st. But now they're attacking Madagascar as well. And they're starting to land on Madagascar. It looks like they're losing, and they actually got to back to the coast. Madagascar's taking over the coast of Sofia. And even though Sofia is still bigger, they are losing. Yeah, they lost some land over there, which is not good. They took over this guy over here, and they pretty much surround this nation. And they're actually taking a lot of land from them. Overall, it looks like Soviet's the biggest. Crown Wei is trying to take a lot of them over. They're kind of winning in the south, but in the north they're not winning. It's getting real bad for the Soviet here. Hopefully they can hold out to Crown Wei, who is number 3 in the world. The Foxhole just got kind of pretty big there, I think. It might just be Soviet losing land, I'm not sure. But nevertheless, Soviet just lost his capital, and it's completely gone. Crown Wei is now the biggest by a majority. They have most of Africa. Even when Soviet was just starting out, they have all that land too. They're almost double the size of any other nation. Foxhole is close, but nowhere compared to Crown Wei, who is the biggest. Fighting up with this Rwanda nation, I think, here. I think that's where Rwanda, or Burundi. But yeah, they conquered them. So now that they're more connected, I bet their new goals here would be maybe more Arabia, maybe Madagascar, and maybe even these guys here. But Foxhole is up here, and they are still doing amazing. We're going to speed this up, and we're only in the year 138. Because it starts out at 0, because it's brand new. And we're down to 118 nations already, and the goal was to do this before the year 1000. Crown Wei is still the biggest. It looks like India got conquered by a new nation, Oriente. China is kind of fighting here. A lot of dark cyans over here, actually. A lot of, I would say, like Easter colors, if you know what I mean. A lot of pastel color. We see that Foxhole up here is actually taking some land from Stanthornland, who is kind of in a pickle right there. Crown Wei is still the biggest by a lot. They did lose some land to like the Sudan over here, but overall they're still really big. Foxhole is the next biggest. It's actually a lot weaker than they used to be. This nation didn't have like any of this land beforehand. Kaithelsanach is doing pretty good here. We need to pause this because Madagascar is starting to become very strong. Foxhole has now taken over the power of number 1, followed by Crown Wei, followed by Thornhorsport, and it looks like Crown Wei's rule is about to be gone. Galmieno is now number 1, but Foxhole is right there. Foxhole's always been a top power, and look at this. They have almost all of America under their control somehow, and they are very strong. Galmieno is still kind of strong up there, and it looks like that Crown Wei is reduced down to a very tiny nation, one of the smallest in the world now, and yeah, they're gone. They were just conquered. Foxhole and Galmieno are still fighting for first, but it looks like Galmieno is just conquering land really fast. Madagascar is tired of being small. Like I said earlier, they were just Madagascar, and now they have almost all of Africa. Foxhole cannot do anything in comparison, and even though they are first, because well, that's a predicament here. We see Northern March actually just took a lot of land from them. So Northern March is now the biggest, actually, but it looks like by barely, even though it looks like Foxhole would be bigger. They're not. And now it's Bright Corner took a little bit. Bright Corner is doing kind of good. This is very interesting here. We're about 300 years in, though, and our strongest is still Northern March, followed by Foxhole, an unpronounceable one in China that I don't know how to say, and then another one in Russia that I don't know how to say either. We're both very strong. Middle Kerch is very strong too. Siberia is very strong here. In terms of cities, there are a lot of cities in this region. Like, this area is very valuable. So that means that the strongest here, well, in terms of cities, it is Middle Kerch. And they also have a very big land, being third in the world. So I would say they're probably first. Northern March is honestly a little bit behind in that factor, and Foxhole is probably a little bit ahead. Well, scratch that. Foxhole's kind of behind. They only have cities over here. But still, time marches on as we see that this Chinese one has taken over the other Chinese one with taking a lot of land from them, and they're now up a lot. Middle Kerch is still doing very good. We have Krohamholt, which is conquering this eastern Siberia. Galmieno is actually taking a lot of their land back from Northern March, or they're still very big. I don't know which one. And yeah, it looks like Northern March is going under in money. And Bright Corner was able to take a lot of land from that. It looks like Mayor Sagna. That doesn't sound. Mayor Zag. I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. But these guys are very strong right here. I guess it's Persia almost, but they have a lot of the Siberian cities that were really valuable. So yeah, they're very strong. We see these guys over here in China, well, more Mongolia, and even Russia, basically. Anyway, they're very strong. Foxhole's the biggest still. And Northern March is nowhere to be seen. Galmieno took a lot of land back, but we also see these guys who were being conquered a lot and had to move up there. These guys have a very rich history, and a lot of South Africa does have a very rich history. But these guys are able to make it back up to the top of the list. Galmieno's still above, though. Right now, Ordinente is looking very strong. These guys are very strong. We have another Russia. Hyde-Thalstanat is very strong. They actually are conquering the old one, Middle Kirch. And now these guys are, I would say, the strongest by about 2,000 pixels. And they border their next strongest, and almost their next strongest. And then we also see they border the fourth biggest. They don't border the fifth biggest. But we see that not too much is happening. Foxhole is gone by now, though. Pavlievo is actually gotten very strong now. And we see that this other language, I think that might be Chinese, has taken a lot of land over there from being basically encircled. Ordinente is actually number 1 now. Well, I think they still, they took number 1 back from Hythalstanak, which is a very big nation still. But it looks like this Chinese nation is about to overtake them. Following that is Galmieno, who is actually reclaiming a lot of their territory. The South African empires that have been taken. Overall, we're going to go down to the bottom, because this is our smallest nation right now. And these guys are still very big. They have a lot of coastal lands, and they could be taken any moment, easily. So basically, I would say these guys are our next weakest. And Ordinental. I'm not sure. Siberia's fighting here. It looks like Ordinent is at 10,000 pixels. And the Russia over here, I guess this is actually the Poland that we saw. Poland actually moved into Russia. They're still very strong in number 2. Following that is this China, then Galmieno. Well, they kind of switched spots. Friurud, another language. 3 of the same language in a row, and then Redwood here. Our smallest is these guys still, but now they're at barely 300 pixels, and it looks like Middle Kirch is actually going this way into Mongolia, taking advantage of the Mongolian steppes here, and they've now gone back up to 4, just in new areas, and not having valuable lands they once owned. We see Egypt over here is doing something very cool. I like this a lot. We still see Galmieno is very strong, being 3rd. Hyde-Thalstanach is very strong as well, and Ordinental is very strong. Number 1 by 4,000 pixels almost. Not really a competition there. Overall, it's around the year 550, down to 41 nations, and this is the slow part. And hopefully, this thing will get sped up. I might even do a time lapse. So you know what? We'll do a time lapse. Here we are back from the time lapse. We saw a lot of notable events from that. One of the, I think a big one was that Egypt lost a lot of land down here in the south. We saw over here in North America just recently that Pavlievo is actually doing a lot of work in North America. They're 2nd right now versus Ordinental, which is still very strong. We saw Hyde-Thalstanach is lost a lot of land. They lost their main capital, and they lost a lot of land to actually to Norway. Galmieno is in 3rd. Followed by this nation up here, Raluslav. Then we have Hythalstanach, Middle Kirch, who's still very strong. And that's really about it for the strong power. We're going to go ahead and unpause it now. And we are around the year 650. And hopefully it doesn't go on for too long. But we're down to 39 nations. Still a very small amount. Our smallest is actually a 4-pixel city-state here who has some of the most gold in the entire world. And they're 4 pixels. So very inspiring, I guess, how they got so small. And they actually just took more land over. They're at 10 pixels now. They over doubled their land size. You can actually see them on the map, too. It looks like Galmieno down here is losing control over Africa. You're not doing too well down here. I think, Friurud is trying to take them over. And we see Ordinental is actually below 1,000 pixels now. They lost a lot of land, and they were above it by a lot. But now, they're under 10,000 pixels at around 9,800. meaning that they might not stay in this for too long. We see over here in Western Africa, Odenstad is doing a very good job. Well, they were doing a good job at taking over Africa until Freurid. Ordental is actually back at number 1. Trigelheim is number 2 now, and they were both just fighting. Ordental just took some land back from Ashkov, who is the number 1 here. Who knows how strong they'd be if they just took over. But overall, we're at 35 nations left. And then our smallest is up here still. We have a lot of small nations up here. Oh, and we're actually seeing Pavlievo losing a lot of land up here. They're starting to go downhill a lot. Yeah, they're losing a lot of their land. They're barely in number 2 and 3. Just because other nations are starting to fall. And Ordental here is still very, very strong. At 11,000 pixels, 60 pixels away from the strongest they've ever been. So even though they're in new lands, I would say it's more beneficial for them, because most of those new lands are up here, versus Trigelheim now anyway. Whatever, but they're gone now. And overall, we see, actually, we might end up starting leading some nations, but I mean, this is our smallest nation. So, we might not have to just yet. But I want to soon, because I don't want this to take too long, because we're at 30 nations now, and the longer this goes on, the longer it goes on. But exponentially takes long, the lower amount of nations you go to, so this might take a very long time. Up here, we do see that, okay, yeah, that's the one more nation gone. Trigelheim was able to take their original capital back. These guys are these are the people who took over the Czechia region, and now they're everywhere. And Ordental is still very strong, but Trigelheim is right behind them, followed by Pavlievo. Right there. Ashkov is there too, followed by, I don't understand, Mittelkirch, and then Galmiano. High Thalstanach is the strongest station that we've had max area wise. Its max was the 3rd strongest ever in the world. Ordental is strongest. They've been the strongest for a while now, probably about 400 years. And we've came a long way from the tiny little South African guys we had down here. And even Galmiano is stronger than the original South Africa that we had here. I forgot their name by now. They will always be remembered. And I think their capital. I think this was their capital here. I'm not sure though. Yeah, zooming back out. Trigelheim is taking a lot of land. They're slowly creeping up on Ordental. And Ordental's top 1 spot. Yeah, Trigelheim is still very strong. We see them actually taking over a lot of the Egypt used to own, or I guess Sudan now. But yeah, Ordental still very strong. Ashkov actually took over all that nation was blocking them from. And our smallest is Tumuslav, who was a lot bigger up here, I think. I think they had a lot more of this land, or they at least had more land, I think, over here, but they've lost a lot of that now. They're just an island nation now. And yeah, not too much is going on in the world. Haven't touched up on Australia, but Australia actually has a split between 2 powers. Our main Australia down here in the south, and then sort of North Australia, kind of Papua New Guinea, and yeah, they're constantly fighting. And yeah, these are the borders, not very good. Africa's still being divided. Yeah, Viserio barely reached the Indian Ocean. They reached the Mediterranean Sea, are really close to reaching the Atlantic. And it looks like over here, this Pirate Skull flag nation is actually number 1. America, being in Brazil most, following that, I'm pretty sure Patagonia down here with all of Chile. Yeah, like Peru or Bolivia probably. Then we have Colombia. Well, no, that's Colombia, but it's also Bolivia. And then we have Brazil. Up here in Europe, we have most of Europe being conquered by Valley, and Trigelheim losing a lot of land. We see that Ordental has actually moved up into the Arctic Circle there. But yeah, they're fighting up with this random nation, I don't know. But Ordental is at the biggest they've almost ever been. They were a little bit, but yeah, they've still never really been bigger. We see that smallest right now, Milo Castle, up here in Iceland still. They have grown since then, but they're still kind of between them and a few other powers all over the place. And Ordental is still very strong. They recovered from that 9,000 spot, and they're up by 3,000 pixels since then, leading to 12,000 pixels. Very formidable. They were at 13,000 once. They might actually hit it here again, or they might not. They are losing a lot of land. Trigelheim is actually able to take over the number 1 spot, barely, at 11,000 pixels, Ordental at 10,000. Yeah, it's really hard to see the comparison here. I would say Ordental looks bigger, but of course that's not the case, as, yeah, Trigelheim, wait, Ordental's back up to the top. Trigelheim is in 3rd, and Pavlio is in 2nd. A lot less nations up here in North America. And slowly but surely, we are reaching. We passed the year 1,000, so we're past that. But we are approaching the year 1,100, and we only have 22 nations left. So honestly, we're not making such bad time. In our smallest nation, Patagonia down here, that has Chile, but even worse now, this Brazil nation, or it might actually be the other Brazil. Neither of them. Smallest is Milo Castle, and they're continuing to grow. They're now up to 1,000 pixels actually. And I remember when 1,000, but yeah, 1,000 used to be big. Let me just look through these nations here. A lot of nations died before even hitting 1,000. So, the Uno Castle was up here, and these guys, they died before even hitting 100. And there were 4 that did that. 1 barely hit 100 at their max, and then probably died later. But Ordinental is still very strong. Pavlievo is right there though. Look at this. They've definitely been growing a lot off camera. Trygaheim is trying to catch up, but Ordinental is stealing their land. But now it's this language has turned to steal their land back. And now there is a giant S-slave in the middle of their nation. So I don't know how they feel about that. But Ordinental and Pavlievo are right neck and neck. They're right there. About 400 pixels behind. Ordinental has reached 13,000 though. This is the biggest they've almost ever been. They got close there for a second. Ordinental is still very strong though. And Pavlievo is the second, followed by this nation. Trygaheim, Mysterio, another one. Kramhamholt, Vic Valley, Ashkov, a few others, there's some more. But 21 nations, and we're not doing too bad here. Middle Castle is still the smallest here. They haven't really changed their size too much. We do see that this Brazil almost gets kicked out of Africa by their other Bolivian nation that they border, actually, on both sides, Africa and in South America. Oh, and it looks like this esclave up here is so close back. Over here, Trygaheim. I don't know, it's not their war score went terrible, but Ordinental is the biggest they've ever been. Well, they were 1 pixel bigger at one point. But Trygaheim's basically dead. They have a long, narrow strip that connects them up to the Arctic Sea. That's basically useless. But, yeah. Ordinental has reached 16,000 pixels, almost 17,000. And Pavlievo is right behind. Well, not too close, actually. They're falling a little bit behind now. Ordinental's growing very largely. They're shifting their focus up here where most of the cities are, but who knows, maybe they'll go for China next. But it doesn't look like it for now. And they might even go for this part of Siberia, as they are being attacked by China. And yeah, they're losing a lot of land to China, so this might be a viable opportunity for them. Oh, look at this. They have an esclave over here, and there's an esclave inside of their territory as well. Oh yeah, look at this. That's terrible. Anyway, we're gonna look down. Galmiano is still very strong. They actually never really died there. They're even bigger than Trygaheim, who isn't very strong anymore. But yeah, they're bigger than them. They're really close though in size. Carthage might be out here soon. They're fighting with Trygaheim. They actually did win though. They've conquered all of Italy, moving into Greece. Okay, well they just lost it. Anyway, the point is nothing. Anyway, Ordinental has lost some land. They did reach 17,000 there for a little bit, and they've done it again. 17,500 almost. The biggest any nation's ever been. And they've been the biggest for at least 500 years. Probably even longer than that, let's be real here. And all of these nations are old. All these nations have lived over 1,000 years. Crazy that they've been able to survive this long against each other in a very big battle royale of 200 nations. Very insane. It looks like Vic Valley traveling up here to Siberia via these islands they've been working at. And overall, Pavlievo is not even at 10,000 now. Ordinental is almost double what they had there for a second anyway. And yeah, it's not looking too good for the rest of the world. And we're down to 20 nations. So, we're not doing too bad. Starting to lead in some nations. If we don't get down to 15 nations within the year, 1,500, then I'll make us go down to 15 nations. But yeah, I'll just have to remember that. And it's kind of silent right now. There's not too much going on. Ordinental is fighting. Okay, well, the wars have started back up. A lot of wars. An ocean war. It's just this ocean. That was an ocean war for. Yeah, they're kind of storming these islands. Okay, we got a war over here. Not too bad. Oh my goodness, South Africa might be taken over once again by Galmian, who is taking over free Urid. Ordinantal is actually just is winning against Ashkov until they weren't. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Ordinantal is below 16,000 now, but Pavlievo has been surpassed by this other nation here, the one in Brazil, who actually has like a ton of Africa, over half of Africa. And yeah, they've been surpassed barely by Pavlievo is still very strong here. Yeah, Smolus is still the same person, and we do see that Ordinantal is not as strong as they used to be there for a second. They were a lot stronger, especially compared to the powers around them and the powers in the world. They were almost double that. But now the powers are starting to catch up with them, and the world is starting to even out. Even though it's not perfect, it is starting. The progression is starting. Tomislav is the smallest. And we're about to hit the year 1,500, where we delete any nation below 1,000. And we will from then on out, if they stay there for a bit. Anyway, Ordinantal, I think they got some land up here in the north. And they're back up to actually 18,876. The biggest any nation has ever been in the history of the world. Yeah, they're double the third power, meaning Pavlievo. And even the second power, they are not that far behind. Well, they are that far behind. No one, I think, will ever be as strong as Ordinantal. They might just end up winning this thing. And it looks like that these guys are very strong. And honestly, I know I said 1,500, but we're just going to go ahead and do it. We're going to delete Tomislav. Goodbye. These guys too, why not? Now we're down to 17 nations. I want to go, and we'll still go down to 15 nations. Still, it looks like Ordinantal is losing some land up here once again. Back to 16,000. No one is above 10,000 now. So, yeah, they're doubled up strength of the fourth strongest, but there's a very big dip there. Well, it looks like these Brazil guys are taking over. They're mostly an African nation now. Barely even have any Brazil. It's like what the colonies used to look like. They have barely any land in their home area. And they have a gigantic colony somewhere else. It looks like Ordinantal is not as strong as they used to be at all anymore. At all. And we've hit the year 1500, which means we have to delete two nations. So we're going to be deleting this one here and actually South Africa here as well. So we actually see that, who was it? Galmieno will take over all of South Africa. For the first time, we really see one main. Technically, the Brazil guys are two, not so much. And yeah, 15 nations left. And Ordinantal is actually, they're still very strong. They've always been strong for the most part. Especially after they took over India. That's where they really started it off. But for now, our smallest nation's up here. And in the year 1600, we'll do 7,000, 1,750. We'll go down to 10 nations. So they just got to stay out of the bottom 5. Ordinantal and this Brazilian nation are about 1,000 pixels apart. We haven't seen this in over 200 years, I would say. And maybe, just maybe, Ordinantal will drop down from the #1 spot and their #1 power. And they've never not been a world superpower. They've been a superpower for over 1,300 years, I would say, at least. Yeah, Ordinantal was able to regain their strength above 6,000 now. And the Brazilian nation does not even compare. The total wars actually fought. Ashkov had the most wars. Now it's Pavlievo, who's fought 130 wars. One of the nations we deleted, actually, I think. Yeah, these guys had 119. And Ordinante isn't actually at the top. Galmieno, though, is very high. And the smallest amount of wars anyone ever fought was, it was one war. With a lot of these guys, in one war, they instantly died. So that's got to be pretty humiliating. Yeah, Ordinantal, still very strong. Second place, strong. Pavlievo is strong. Well, Pavlievo just got nuked down in 4th. Crow Helmholtz is in 5th. Vic Valley is actually growing stronger now. A lot of people are a lot stronger, around 10,000 now. There's a lot more around 10,000, or even around most people are above 5,000. That's like the main mark there, I would say. We're going to go ahead. I think we just got to do it. Ashkov is in last, actually, now. They lost almost all their land to Ordinantal. And Ordinantal's almost been the biggest they've ever been. And they almost hit 20,000 there for almost a second. But not quite. Not just yet. They are almost double the strength of the second strongest. And then third strongest is Pavlievo, which they are double the strength of. And who knows for how long, because Trygaheim is trying to take back their spot of number 2 at least, but they're still very weak. And Oriental was able to crush them pretty easily. Oriental's transitioning from up here in the north of Russia down actually to the Chinese lands and more focused on the center of their land, expanding the center out more. Eventually they might come back to those lands, but it looks like they're focusing on other regions for now. Maybe even up here in this region of China. And it's the year 1700, which means we're just going to go ahead and delete the bottom 5. So Ashkov will be deleted. They had a very good run. They are one of the strongest nations ever, and they're dead now, so that's kind of sad. They were always a very strong nation. Now we're going down to 13 by deleting that nation. Zormievo, Alaska basically is gone. Milo Castle, they are finally gone. And Sigrafell, who has all of Australia, and our first really powerful nation, strongest most of the others, is gone. Ordinantal is getting a lot of that. Galmiano is going to take a lot of that as well, taking about half of it. But we also see that the pirate nation over here was able to take a lot of that too. Yeah, Brazil kind of came back. And now we're down to 10 nations, and everybody's on the leaderboard now. I don't have to move the leaderboard. Ordinantal finally hit the 20,000 with that, and actually 21,000. They're the biggest they've ever been. Following that is Crow Hamholt, who is the second. Then we have the Brazilian nation over here. Kronwinkel, who is Canada and more. We have Vic Valley, who's next. Galmiano, who's after that. Pavlievo, Brazil, Trygaheim, and Redwood. Redwood being the weakest nation in the world at 6,000 pixels, which is biggest than our first biggest nation ever, and that's our weakest nation now, which is just incredible. And Oriental is at 18,000 pixels. Crow Hamholt is actually getting really close to number 1 here, and everybody is actually starting to get a lot closer to number 1, a lot closer than you would think. And by the year 1900, I'm going to delete the next weakest nation. This year, it was this year that America got independence. So this is what the world would look like if 2 of your nations started and said inhabit the world, and no one could be deleted. So that was the year of America declaring independence. This is the year the war was finally over. We haven't even approached World War One, and we might even end up ending the scenario by having one being the biggest. But yeah, Redwood is looking on the edge of being dead. We have 100 years left until we delete our next nation, and I am just gonna skip to there. And I paused that real quick because actually we saw Crow Hamholt take over the number 1 spot from Ordinantal. Ordinantal is very fractured now. I kind of just spread out India to Indonesia. It's honestly kind of sad. They're just losing a lot. I'm trying to they got some land back from Trygaheim, and they're actually taking even more land over in Trygaheim here. And they've taken their number 1 spot back, which is incredible. What we saw here. And yeah, we're gonna have to delete our next 5 nations. And we are going to be deleting our next nation. So Trygaheim is dead after a long time. Ordinantal is almost at 20,000 again. Redwood will now be eliminated. And most of this is going to go over to Brazil. Pavlievo will be deleted, being a very influential one there. We see Kronwinkel actually taking a lot of that over, becoming very strong. They're actually number 2 in the world. And we still have to keep going. So Brazil will actually officially be the next one. And a lot of that's going to be taken over by the old Brazil. Other Brazil, you could say. Patagonia was taken by Galmiano. And Kronwinkel took the north. But now we have to delete our 5th nation, which will actually be Galmiano. So South Africa will finally fall after conquering a lot of the world. And Brazil will actually be taking over number 1 spot, elevating themselves all the way up to 30,000 pixels. Ordinantal can barely hold on at 25,000. And overall, these guys just had a very nice move area. So we're slowly going to delete the next ones now. Next one will be Vic Valley, who will be deleted. We'll go ahead and delete them now. We deleted Ordinantal. You know, I didn't mean to do that. Well, maybe it was for the best. Ordinantal is now gone. We're slowly going to delete the next weakest. Vic Valley will be gone. Kronwinkel will be gone. And finally, this all goes down to this. Brazil, and it will actually be... Brazil will officially win this one. And even though Oriental was gone, it had to happen. And once again, if you enjoy these videos, show your support, do all the stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.